Hey, what's going on, family? Yeah, sorry for the delay. I know we are calling it a delay is actually pretty crazy. We are 3 hours behind time, but yeah, it's quite literally giving Zimbabwe. We had a power cut, so uh, you know, couldn't be here for the stream. Couldn't take the you know couldn't take our session during our window, but it's all good. I still want to go live. Even though it's way past our trading time, I still do want to have a look at what happened today during the market, and maybe there's something that we can learn from, you know, from whatever happened today. So just bear with me. Apologies again. I know you guys were expecting me to be here at yeah, at 9:15 EST, all right? But there was quite literally nothing I could do about that, so my bad. I will. Let's just make sure we can see the charts. I don't think we're gonna take any trades. It is at this point. It is towards lunch. Could be like past lunchtime already. So we're just gonna go through like the analysis that I would have done before, um, you know, when pre-market, and then also what just kind of have a look at what happened during the market, uh, you know, during our window. So yeah, do I need to apologize again? I don't think so. I think that's enough apologies. But yeah, so this was I'd drawn out like Globex session. Let me switch off the Keltner channels. I drawn out like the Globex session last night. You will notice I did change the time at the bottom. I changed it from using like my local time to using EST. So this is American New York time. Yeah, so market open is at 9:30. This is, you'd see it from here, 9:30. This is New York session, and then the Globex session starts at 6 p.m. New York time. Yeah, so I'm just gonna draw this market profile. Volume profile should go from 6 p.m. to about 9:29. Yeah, 9:30. I wanted it exactly at 9:29. One second. I think this is gonna be like it's gonna be good for me as well, just to like recap a couple of things. Yeah, this does kind of look like we got our break and retest of developing volume profile, which would have been great to be a part of, but again, what can you do? Yeah, and then with this volume profile from 6 p.m. to 9:30 to 9:29. Then after that, what we do is we mark out our Globex session values. Just gonna expand that. Let me hide the candlesticks for now. Yeah. It also kind of sucks that we missed this session because one of the things I was like also looking at getting today looks like happened. It looks like it happened. I've been reading John. I want to say his name is John, but it's John Dalton's book on market profiles. I spend, because we don't have any power, I just used that time to go over, a couple of concepts that he covers in his book on market. It's called Mind Over Market, and it's just really on market profiles and volume profiles, and and reading the market like that. So I'll get more into that probably like over the weekend, and then just see if there's anything from the book that I could cover that could be, perhaps like maybe worth your time. Also, just like as far as yeah, just as far as what's going on with the market and how to analyze and read the market and all of that stuff. But yeah, Underdog, I see you in the chat. What's going on, family? Yeah, it's crazy because like we actually spoke about it, about that, about like my power potentially cutting during stream, and it happened. So I don't want to say you jinxed it, but like I think we might have jinxed it. I was really hoping we were gonna get that this week, but you know what can you do? But it's all good. It's good to see you in the chat, bro. Yeah. So this is pretty much like what we're gonna do pre-market, just marking out the overnight value area, the overnight value areas, right? This is the point of control for the Globex session 542.5, and that overlaps with the previous week's point of control. So with that being said, let's just put on the let's put the candlesticks back on because we've got what we needed to see from there. And it also doesn't look like we tested that, and if we were going to get a test, it would have wanted the test to happen within the first 15 minutes of our session. Yeah. But yeah, so we didn't get that. So let me just turn off the values on this, disable that, and yeah. Yeah, quite literally, like I don't even need to throw a volume profile on, but I guarantee you we probably got like a retest of the volume profile around here, and then yeah. This is also a rule from Dalton rule. This is something I've been like reading up on, and it's on if price opens, right? If price opens below the previous day's value, so previous day's value would be, this is the previous day's value, this volume profile. So if price opens, okay, so again, just to like highlight it, see that's 9:30, so that's 9:30 New York time, all right? So coming into the new session, which starts at 9:30 the next day, today, price opened below, right? And then it made its way into the previous day's volume profile. There's I think statistically it says 86 or 87% chance that we're gonna get a full rotation within that value. So, this would have been a fantastic trade to make, but we move, right? So yeah, so coming into the session, we would have drawn our volume profile from 9:30, would have made it a developing volume profile. I could do a bar by bar replay. Maybe let's do that. Let's take it from 9:45. This is when our window would have been open, and then I'll just drag it back to 9:45. 45, where are you? There you are. And then we'll just go bar by bar, and then just see how, and just see how price developed. You know what I'm saying? Just see how price developed throughout the session. It's like a little good exercise to do. I mean, it's not really back testing, but it is kind of back testing. But I'm doing it more so that like, if there's anything as a topic that we can cover or that we can make a video out of or discuss a little further, then then we can do that. And also, if you do have any questions, just like drop the questions in the comment section. And yeah, this shouldn't take too long though, so I will make this let's make it play by what, 10 speed. I think 10 speed might be a little slow. 20 speed. Okay, maybe let's take it slow. No need to rush. We're not going to be taking any trades at this point because it's after our window. Even if something shows itself right now, I don't want to be making any trades towards lunchtime or after lunchtime New York time. So yeah, we'll just have to be back tomorrow and just hope our power doesn't go. But yeah, I'm gonna switch on the big trades, the VWAP for the New York session, VWAP for the Globex session, the Keltner channels as well, and then our open high low close. This is how we get our initial balance, right? So again, our initial balance being the first hour from the open of New York session. Yeah, so that's what these purple lines are. And then again, Globix view app, that's the blue line, and the New York view app, that's the red line, right? So let's just see what we could potentially possibly have done had we been like within, you know, within this market. Like, yeah. Oh, I mean, it would be great if you played. There we go. Okay, just making sure that this was working. So that's a break below the overnight value area high. Again, within our window. I wouldn't, like, honestly, I wouldn't have taken, I wouldn't have bought from overnight value area high. I still would have wanted to see a break and retest of 755, 750. So of the value area high, right? So that's the trade that like typically I would want to make. Yeah. So a break would be price going above this area. Now let's put our stop on the other side of the value area. So with our stop here, and then a break of this, a retest, and for price to go. Again, typically like what I'd want to go for is not too many points on like this type of trade, like maybe like a 6-point stop. Well, a 6-point take profit, you know. Yeah. This would be the invalidation of this trade, because then if we get a bounce and a retest of this, then we're not getting a break in retest, we're getting a ranging market. Yeah. So this is the trade that we've been talking about this previous week, and also something that we'll be looking for, you know. So again, big buyer, they will see if that buyer got result. Yeah. So again, we're just like watching for the break and retest just to see if we got that play today. Still nothing yet. Nothing yet. We need a clear break, so that would be our break. Yeah, so this would be our break, and then we'll be looking for the retest here. So our trade would only start to happen, would have probably like set our trade entry from this point. Let's see if we got the retest. That's the retest. Actually, to come to think about it, that wasn't really a clean break, yeah. But you know, and again, that's how many minutes? This is more of a cleaner break, yeah. So just to explain the break again, why this is not a break and why this is. This wouldn't be a clean break because we got a wick, yeah. So all my black candles are down candles, are negative candles. This wouldn't be a clean break because we got a wick on that candle. So essentially, like, price got there. Like, remember the structure of a candlestick is for a bullish candle, right? This blue candle, it opens at the bottom and it closes at the top, right? And then for a bearish candle, like this black candle, it opens at the top but it closes at the bottom, yeah. So just looking at price action from here, from this blue candle, we open at the bottom, close at the top, opened here, yeah. We had a rally up at some point. We opened here, went down, we had a rally up, but then price still closed here. To get it. So this isn't strong bullish momentum. It's not strong bullish action, you know. So this is a much better break of the level, and then now possibly then after this, they're now looking for that retest of that area. You know, you get it sometimes you don't, but still, if it's a thing of like we didn't get the retest of that, I still wouldn't be like too mad at it, because rules, you know. Yeah, possibly here. Yeah, you see, so there's the retest of that area. So but that's a much, for me, this is a much cleaner entry. Let's see if it actually played out before I wax lyrical about what's a good entry and what's not a good entry, and big buying. Is that a stop? Looks like it could have stopped us out if we had actually entered there. It would have been a bit nervy, no lie. I mean, not a stop out, but still would have been, you know, would have been a bit jumpy at that. But yeah, that looks like it worked out eventually. Just throwing that out. Again, like, why wouldn't I have taken the overnight value area high trade? I guess because of like the volume profile and just what I prefer, as an entry. I prefer like the break and retest of value area highs. Because in the invalidation, like, it's one thing to define like an entry point, but even after having done that, you still have to define where your trade is invalid and where you get out. And this is a lot clearer for me. If I get a break, of value area high, like, then the trade idea becomes invalidated if we then rotate all the way to the value area low. Hence the stop loss being where it is. This dotted line, I'm not sure if you can see it, but like this dotted line on the volume profile. Let's zoom into it just to make it a little clearer. But yeah, the dotted line there, yeah, that's the value area low on the volume profile. So a full rotation then becomes kind of like the trade that we had on Monday, the trading day we had on Monday, where we just had a continuous rotation between like the two value areas. So you get that and you're looking for break and retest, then your break and retest is not valid anymore. So that's why. But yeah, this looks like it worked out. Hold on one second, guys. Yeah. Okay. This looks like it played out eventually. Yeah. I guess like the next thing to check, we'll just check on the half hour. The next thing to check will be the initial balance play, which also, obviously now, because it's in hindsight, and we know that like we had a rally, it's not really I don't want to say we're not going to get a lot of information from it, but still at the same time, still would want to see how we determined what was going to be a break, whether it was going to be a break and retest of that area, and how we did get that break and retest. Because again, remember, okay, I'll explain it more once we get to 1630. Once we get initial balance set. Again, like lots of like buying towards the top. This is at 1024. So let's see. I think that could have been 570, could have been our initial balance. Yeah, let's slow it down a little. Nope. Yeah, okay, so we've determined that like this trade would have worked out. Yeah, the stop would have been like really wide, 8.75 as a stop. That's almost like 275 for a stop loss. unless we would have entered with like, probably would have entered with three, with um, a three, with like three contracts, just, to meet our risk management settings and all of that. So we still would have been like within our daily loss limit for the day. Yeah. It could have been, thinking about it again, the overnight value area high really could have also been a valid entry and a valid point to get into the trade. Why? Just switching off the bars, just based off again, like off the node on the volume profile, right? So this big peak over here could have been like an entry. That's possibly also something that we could explore more, looking around volume node entries and also looking around low volume node entries. We had a low volume node entry yesterday that we didn't actually take, which could have been profitable. So we could explore that. We should by right explore that a lot more. Yeah, the volume profile wasn't developing there. I was kind of not bad in that one. But yeah, let's see how we form. So okay, so this is now, let's get rid of this. This is now the initial balance play. Yeah, so initial balance is set at 7,570, right? So now what we want to see is how we're going to react around here and how we get the break, because we do know that we got a break and retest of this, right? And then also the second thing that I mentioned is that once we break inside the previous day's value, there's a high probability that we rotate throughout the entire previous day value range, right? Which could have been fantastic. That's about like 20 points. On five contracts, that's close to like $500, I think. Let's just measure it out. It's and also I'm saying five. Yeah, we'll see how many points this is. I'm saying 5 contracts, and I'm calculating the contract size on minis, on micros, not minis. So size accordingly. But yeah, let's wait and see how we got the break and retest of the previous day value of the initial balance. This also looks like it gave us another value area high break and retest. Yeah, like that's the break of previous day value, not of previous day value, of the developing volume profiles value area high. We broke that, and now we're coming back. Lots of selling, lots of buying that wasn't actually getting any result. Just like those buys were hitting a wall, right? They were hitting a wall, trying to get past that level, trying to get past these levels, let's see. So that's the retest of the value area high. Let's just speed it up a little. Another retest. And we get the break here. This looks like a look below and fail, Big selling there. Do these sellers get any value? So again, see, that's like 504 contracts. So multiply this by 100 to get like the multiplied by 100 to get the number of shares that were bought, right? So 504 multiplied by 100, and that's 50,400, right? So 50,400 contracts that were bought, that was sold here, yeah, with the intention of moving the market lower, right? At least that's what we'd assume, yeah, that if there's a lot of market selling, the sellers are trying to get the auction to go lower, so let's see what happened thereafter. because then like what you could safely assume, and um, what you could, should we say assume? Let's use the word deduce. Yeah. What you can then deduce from this is that like the buyers want the market to go higher, the sellers want the market to go lower. So if there's a lot of market selling and the market doesn't go lower, then the sellers are gonna be in pain, and because the sellers are in pain, then what happens is then they have to get out of their positions. You know, they at some point they have to get out of their positions. So that's one thing that we can deduce from the big trades. It's a lot of buying as well at that level. So this is clearly a battle between these two. Okay, so these sellers won. You know, at least this little battle was won by these sellers. And how can we tell that? We can tell that just from like the resulting selling that then happened after. You know, we still at this point haven't got a retest of initial balance, right? Our initial balance has been set. It was set at 1028. Yeah, 1027, but we haven't got a retest of it just yet. Okay, so there's our break of initial balance. Big buys, big buys, big buyers. We see, let's just watch how this candle closes. Let's zoom in. All right, this is like pretty zoomed in now, but just so that you guys can see like the orders on the candles themselves, right? So that's the break of initial balance, right? And what we'd be looking for at this point would be the retest of initial balance. So again, just to draw it out, the retest of that. And where would our stop go? I think like logically I'll stop going to the developing volume profiles value area would make sense, because if you think about it, we'd have to break previous day value area low and the initial balance, and if it goes anywhere below the developing volume profiles value area, then you know we have to protect capital, because at this point like the next place that it could go is like any one of these levels. It could go to the SMA, it could go to the New York VWAP, it could go to the point of control, it could go to the Globex VWAP, it could go to the opposite side of the value area. So you know the first logical place where you can place your stop is, you know, yeah, and by logical place I mean like the first place where the trade idea gets invalidated. Yeah. If we really wanted, because I mean this is only like 3.25 points, so if we wanted to protect it, I mean we could even go as far as there, like by this volume node. But then again, it's just one of those things where you're kind of using your discretion, right? And now again, like because like we're looking for a retest of the initial balance, and we want price to stay above the initial balance, which also is going to be price staying above the previous day value area, above the previous day value area low, right? And then we can expect, as I was saying, we can expect like this full rotation to the previous day value area high, you know. So this would be like this would have been like the trade we could have looked for during the session. How many minutes? That's 11 o'clock. So yeah, that's 11 p.m. So again, still kind of within our window. We'll see if we do get a retest of the initial balance. Do we get it here? Do we not? Because the break was pretty clean. You know, I don't think we actually got the retest here. Yeah, looks like it went forever. Probably the next best place to look for a trade would be from the previous day point of control. Yeah. And if not from there, if we missed it there, then we'll be looking for it from previous week's value area high. So yeah, this doesn't look like it would have filled. This doesn't look like it would have filled this. Which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Unless you are entering with a stop order, not a fan. Unless you're entering with a stop order, and then maybe. But then that would be assuming a lot of things. Like, for one, it would be assuming that we're not going to get a fade, that we're not going to fade the value area, and that we're not going to get a look above and fail. Alternatively, also something that I've seen a couple of traders do as well would be to buy off the resultant buyers, right? So instead of like waiting for the retest all the way at initial balance, right, you place your entry at one of these at one of these buyers, right, at one of these big buyers, so either at the 130 or at the 192. So looking for your entry there. That also could have been one way to enter in this trade. But there's no way of knowing that. There's no way of knowing that we weren't going to get the initial balance. We weren't going to get a retest of the initial balance, right? But if it was a thing of like being super super thirsty to get filled, then that would have been, that would have been a place to that could have been one of the places to place your entry. So where the volume is 192, that's a 7572. Or here where those 130, it's 137 actually, 7571, that would have barely filled you actually. But yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, that kind of looks like, I think those are all the plays that could have potentially happened today. With the initial balance play, I mean, I'm just gonna run it through, but yeah, unlucky one with like the power and and that entire situation. But what can you do? Probably would, like, honestly, I think I would have been a bit jittery at this point had we got like filled anywhere around here, because off the Keltner channels we are also overextended, and it would make sense for price to rotate and come all the way back down, at least to the SMA, but since we already are within the previous day's market profile, volume profile, the chance that we get a full rotation to previous day value area high is a lot higher. I think, like, the probability of that happening is quite high. So yeah, so that's possibly what could have happened today. I don't know if we were gonna get if we got a test of it here. Doubt it. But let's wait and see. So there's another entry at the previous day point of control. If this is an entry, would mean, let's get rid of that, because I want us to go through it like logically, right? Where it's like, if we're finding entries, we also need to define exits, and we need to be really cold about our exits, right? So okay, cool. So initially we were looking for a retest of initial balance. We didn't get the retest of initial balance, right? And price just kind of like rallied through and went without us. Cool. Now we're getting a rotation, right? But because we're using like the Dalton rule, right? And now because we are within the previous day's value, right? And we're at the point of control. Say we had found an entry here, right? Say we had to find our entry at the previous day point of control. Logical place to target would be the previous day value area high. Where would our stop go, right? Because we can't just like define our stop losses by where it feels comfortable for us. We need to use logical places where the trade then gets invalidated, right? Where the trade gets invalidated. So like getting an entry from the previous day point of control, the logical place to put your stop would be at the previous day value area low. And the reason being, if this doesn't bounce and go to the previous day value area high, then that Dalton rule was never in play, right? The Dalton rule was never in play. So the place where it gets invalidated would be if price goes back to the value area low, you know. Then that way your risk is always defined, right? And even looking at this is a 4.75 like risk, that's like 175. Yeah, it's about like 175 about 175 bucks as a stop loss. But then it's defined. It's defined. It's not giving the trade space because you don't want to be stopped out, right? Because in the event that you do this, price goes to the previous day value area low and then invalidates your trade idea, and you keep on giving it space. Now you've put your stop loss at the New York view app, and then you've put it at the Globex view app, and the more it goes lower, the more you're losing money. So having like really well-defined areas of exits, right? Like this is where I exit the trade because the trade idea is invalid. It's just as important as finding your your areas of entry, so there is that. So this could have been a second place to find a trade. We'll see how this played out. Yeah, and see, like now the volume profile also changed, and the point of control shifted up, point of control shifted higher, and then that's take profit, eh? Yeah, unlucky. It's unfortunate that we weren't here for it, but we'll have more days. We'll have more days. I think what was just like important for me, even though like we missed out on the day, was just to be able to come back and to come here and be live and have it documented, at least that we did want to participate in the day. And this would be like way beyond my trade window. Like lunch is kind of like my cutoff time. If we don't find anything before that, then it's a wraps for me. But that's pretty much it for the day. It is what it is. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, and it's also non-farm payrolls. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that. We'll see. I think non-farm payrolls come out at 9 a.m. So yeah, we might actually have an earlier stream just so we can see what happens when the NFP news gets released. But before I go, this level is interesting because from yesterday we actually marked it out. This 597 area. This is where we had that low volume node. Remember, 7597. I bet you. I remember it because it was a significant level during our session yesterday. Yeah, there you go. There's that low volume node as I just called out. So we'll see if we get a break of this low volume node. This is probably gonna act as, this right now is acting as resistance. So we get a break of this, we're probably gonna get a retest of it to the upside, and then this is gonna turn to support. So this is gonna be one of those typical resistance turn support type of trades. If it can break through this volume node. So I'm just scrolling really, really slowly trying to get to where price is. Bear with me. I think I can do this a lot faster. There we go. Yeah. And this is the low volume node, yeah. And just to explain, if you're here for the first time, the low volume node is where we have low volume. Didn't need much of an explanation there, but yeah, just basing off the volume profile. Okay, basing off the volume profile and how our volume profile is graphically it is, our volume profile is representing volume graphically for us in relation to price and time. So, the peaks are where the most amount of volume transpired, right? So if we zoom out like completely, you'll start to see the numbers, right? The number is the amount of volume at that level, at that area. 6,589. Yeah. That's the amount of volume that transacted at this price here at 758975. From the time at which I drew this volume profile. So from 9:30 to 10, right? From 9:30 to 4 p.m. So I'm using EST time now. That's the amount of volume that's the amount of volume that was traded at this price. Yeah. And then again at 758950, right? Total volume 9326, up 4849, down 4477, right? So the amount up volume will be buy volume. That's like everything that's hitting the ask, right? So these are like your buys, and then your down volume is everything that's hitting the bid. So these are your sells, right? So that's what it is. And so our low volume node is where there is quite literally low volume. 88, 196. There is volume there, but it's low. Hence the term low volume node, right? Low volume node. In comparison to everything else, like 35 as volume is like nothing in comparison to 6,000 or to 1,000. Do you get it? So that's what makes this area really relevant, at least towards what we want to do or what we could possibly do, right? So again, like you remember, as I was saying, we drew this out yesterday, and this is where price is now, right? Acting as a wall, and even if we were to trade this from like previous day value area high, that would have been a logical place to get out, and depending on how this holds, this actually could be another reversal trade. Trading this to value area high would be a logical trade to make. This would make sense, yeah. I'm not gonna do it again because it's outside our trading window. But we'll see how this holds. If this was to break, then we'd expect the opposite, right? If this was to break, then we would be looking for something like this, right? For it to break, and then this would act as support instead of as resistance, right? But logically, where this is going, it's going to go and retest the previous day value area high. And then if this doesn't hold, then we're going to get a full rotation to the previous day value area low. But yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much it from me today. A pretty short stream. About like 45 minutes. But I think we covered like a lot of like really important concepts and topics, and it was really nice to, I just thought it would be important to come back here and have a look at what was going on with today's trades, and with what happened in the market today. Just do want to see if I can change my clock. Can I? Okay, I'll do that after stream. But I think that's pretty much gonna be it. If you guys have any questions, drop them for me in the comments to this video. Also make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Do you need to say that a lot? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, follow the Telegram. Yeah, follow the Telegram. I think the link is in the description of this video. Sorry, that volume profile wasn't drawn from the right time. There we go. It's a lot better. But yeah, make sure you follow the Telegram link. It's in the description of the video. Yeah, I do my journaling on there as well. I drop like links to the lives on there. I also drop the links to my Substack on there as well, and then also just like screenshots of the trades as we do them, after the session is done. So yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty much it from me. We'll call it a day, and then we'll be back. Yeah, and then we'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. I think from tomorrow, let's do 8:45 EST. Yeah, it's gonna be a long stream, but we'll do 8:45 just for us to see the reaction around non-farm payrolls, and that'll be pretty much it. But yeah, cheers guys. Thanks for supporting the stream. Thanks for being here. Bring a friend next time, and yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow.